This week's channel message from the Mother of Creation is giving us some phenomenal details about the collapse that is coming and about how we can thrive through it. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here, and thank you so much for joining me to share these messages. They, to me, as we share them together, I get so much more out of them, and I find them to be just increasingly powerful as we are bringing them into our collective awareness. So to those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel both the angels and the Mother of Creation. I do that by going into a deep trance state, and I connect from there. And with the angels, I raise my consciousness up. I connect at the angelic realm. I stretch and reach just a little higher and connect with them. And then I bring through healing and information from them. With the Mother of Creation, she comes in a little differently. She comes in through my heart from the back and kind of opens up this way. Both are amazing. I love it all. So today's message is, like I said, if you are feeling at all sensitive at the moment, this message does go into some detail about some of the events that are on the horizon, particularly financial and economic and political stuff. That it's not a lot of it. There's just a couple paragraphs, and it is, I think, extremely helpful because it's very detailed. But but the majority of the message is very uplifting. I will tell you, the focus for sure on the message is about really what we need to be doing in terms of our mental state, how turning towards and accepting our freedom that's coming forward. Seeing all of this is bringing us closer to freedom. That is the main point of the message. But in order to get to that point of the message, she does talk about some of these events. And if you feel like it's not going to be good for you in your current state of mind, if it's not supportive right now, I just want you to know that so you can maybe choose to watch later or to watch another video. So, but that said, overall, this is a very beautiful and uplifting message. Before we dive in, I wanted to make sure you knew that our deep intensive weekend with the Mother of Creation is coming up December 6th and 7th. The Mother of Creation is she's a big energy and she's got a lot to share, and she needs more time with us to be able to do it. So we're hosting this 2 days with her coming up December 6th and 7th, where I'll be channeling, bringing her in. There will be information, there will be healing. Then we are adding, actually as a bonus, we decided, thinking about it, the best way to be able to share this information and to integrate it is to then add on another day, which is going to be the following Sunday. So we will meet December 6th and 7th. We will have the week to integrate what comes through, and during that time we'll prepare the transcript, we'll prepare a workbook, and then the following Sunday we will gather again and go through that workbook together and just work through the information, integrating and deepening our understanding of it. So if you would like to be part of that, it's on my website, anntucker.com. You'll see it right at the top, Mother of Creation Weekend. I hope you will come and join us and be part of it. So, all right, if you're ready, take a breath, and I'm going to go ahead and play the original channeling for you. Hello and blessings. I am with you once again. I will enjoy speaking with you today on a subject of some concern about the morrow, about what is occurring in the near future on this earth, on the horizon. There are some questions that you might be having about what sort of events are coming and how you might prepare yourselves. There are questions forming in your mind, questions about what you've heard and about the instigation of what might be the shift of consciousness. And I wish to share with you that there are some points of concerning news. There are some things that are settling on the earth plane very soon that will be disruptive. And I want to assure yourselves that the form that these will take are about surrendering. There is within all that occurs the undertow that will divide your consciousness into two planes of acceptance. One will fight in the battle against what occurs, and one will accept what occurs as a pathway towards their own spiritual enrichment. These two choices are available to yourselves. Each one is a valid perception. One leads towards a pathway of constriction, and the other leads towards a pathway of freedom. The types of occurrences you can expect to experience relate, yes, to things economic and to concerns of global empires, of how this world is currently construed and the way it means to deliver and exchange goods around this circuitous world. There shall be a shortening of timings that undermine everything, and there shall be an enrichment of some that falters very easily. And as those fortunes cascade, there is a great undertow that pulls many things with it. The banking system may falter, and you may find yourselves wishing upon the older days, wondering how things could be simplified once again. This is an opportunity for yourselves, such as I'm speaking of. Which path shall you choose? Shall you be in resistance to what is, or shall you find within it a pathway toward freedom? All that unfolds will be regulated by your internal commission, by what you are feeling about yourself in these times that are arriving. Be aware that all will right itself soon. All will return to some passageway which emerges because things cannot stay as they are. Things cannot remain torn asunder. They shall find a pathway again. But where will you flow in that process? How will you find yourselves? Can you regulate your internal disposition during a process of upheaval? Can you find within it that anything lost was not needed, that you are cared for, and will find yourselves brought to what is needed, that there cannot be a situation which does not lead to your betterment? Hold this as your faith in any concern. Speak to yourselves aloud if need be. Reassure yourselves all pathways lead to your freedom. All pathways lead to your freedom. Then the primary concern is in the noticing and the observation of how that freedom is materializing. It may not be as you expected, yet it is available to be perceived. Your enrichment in these times is of a spiritual nature. It is in your dialogue with yourselves, with the towering nature of your individuation, of how you will come to terms with a world that is extending itself beyond its own capacity and returning to itself in a way that deregulates commerce and political systems. This is all right, have no fear. Your internal choice is what matters. How shall you find yourselves in this new freedom? How can that freedom be buoying your internal emotional regulation? Can you find within it a capacity to notice freedom? For example, if there is not the same support for your daily routine, you could find concern or freedom. Freedom to enrich your day in some new way. Freedom to go somewhere you've been meaning to explore. Or you could sit and worry about when things will start again. When might you return to work? Choosing the path of freedom enriches every experience. I suggest this to you because The degree to which these changes unfold will vary for everyone. The world is a very large place, and in some locales and in some situations, they will be felt very heartily. In others, hardly at all. And in all cases, your passageway through them offers you this choice point. How shall you experience this passage of time where things are coming to a close and new doorways open? Shall you reach for what was, or shall you settle yourselves within to expand into your own experiencing of what new freedoms you are being given? Sometimes freedom does not look like freedom in the beginning. It may sometimes take on the disguise of hardship, but recognize this is only because our expectations are not in alignment with reality, and we have not yet opened ourselves to the opportunity that is before us. Take heart in all occurrences. Trust that you are guided toward your highest expression, and find in any pockets of resistance an opportunity to make a choice for freedom. Yours is palpable, it is tangible, and it will provide for you in every circumstance an avenue by which you may expand your spiritual awareness. You can be brought to peace and tranquility, even in circumstances that do not seem to offer it, if you merely guide yourself toward what freedom is presenting itself. Lean into the possibility you did not expect. There will be circumstances at large that cause for the upending of things, and these may cause great concern for many. But I would encourage yourselves not to listen, to have in your heart the comprehension that your light is guided, your perspective can open, and the broadening of your circumstances leads you toward what can only be described as an unfolding of a new paradigm of reality. Take into yourselves this hopeful voice to receive your freedom as it is given, to step upon the threshold of what is new, and to reach for the unexpected. For there will be opportunities made and opportunities met that you cannot fathom and cannot prepare for. And these are of a nature to guide you toward your spiritual expression. I say thank you and goodbye. So, what I love about this message, you guys, is that it is, number one, it's super, super clear. Like, I feel like before the Mother of Creation came in this time, she took a minute to steady me and to steady herself and to deepen the connection so she could just come through with, I feel like this just very even, very clear message where I felt like she was really working to try to connect with us, to try to help us to kind of take this in, because I feel like it's a really important message. And then in it, I feel like in terms of her explanation, she's trying to, yes, she's giving us some very specific information. One of the things that I think is to note as we get to it is there's places where she mentions really specific things, really unusually specific things. And when this has happened in the past, they have been sometimes the key that leads to some of the biggest shifts. It'll be sort of the first domino that leads to the whole scenario of things happening. But it's just very hard for us to see it in advance because our brain just doesn't seem to flex that way. But when I look back at it in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I see that now, that it's super, super clear where she said it. I just didn't understand it, or where the angel said it, but I didn't understand it. So, I think as she's talking about the economic changes, I think we will get to a place where the US dollar is, it's, and this is going off of the channeling we did way in 2020, talking about the loss of political hegemony of the United States, the loss of the petrodollar, that I think the only way the US has out of its debt is to devalue the dollar. And I think there will be circumstances where the dollar loses its value by a lot, like 50%. That's my personal opinion. But I don't think that's gonna, I think in the long run that things will be fine and we will work it out. And even she talks about it in the message that we will be driven to find local economies and to get our needs met, that we will get our needs met, that things will be fine. And at the end of the day, it will lead to a better, brighter world by a lot. But I do think that it will create a lot of fear. But I also think it's like there's so many layers to this, and we could talk about it in depth. I think that I think there is an opportunity within all of this, and we could start going into practical discussions about like what should you do, how can you prepare for that, and I'll just mention it briefly now because here we are on the topic. I'm just going to go into it briefly, and then let's go into breaking down the message. If we think that the currency is part of this stuff that they're talking about, if we think that the dollar will break, if we think it'll be devalued, that it is not a bad idea to, in my personal opinion, I am not a financial advisor, so do what you feel called to do. Go and get advice from a financial professional. I personally think it's not a bad idea to put some money into precious metals like silver or gold, to have a little bit to give yourself a buffer to kind of carry you through. And you guys know the angels have mentioned XRP, which is a cryptocurrency, it's not a bad idea. If you have a little bingo money, that rather than playing bingo, why not put a little into XRP? Not financial advice, just a thought to consider. And these are small things that you could do potentially that may or may not help you in terms of smoothing out the bumps in this time period. And those are suggestions I have taken on for myself. And I share them here, just like I said, not a financial planner or a financial analyst or anything. This is just what I feel guided to do. So, and then just know that it's like the things that we cling to that we think are so important, the systems that we built for ourselves that may not actually be systems that support us at all. That how much more free we could be in the absence of those things. And we can't imagine it right now, but that is where we are headed, you guys. So let's go ahead and break down the message and talk about the individual, and some of this is very clear, but in some places I feel like we could go a little deeper. So first paragraph, hello and blessings. I'm with you once again. I will enjoy speaking with you today on a subject of some concern about the morrow, about what is occurring in the near future on this earth on the horizon. So there are some questions that you might be having about what sort of events are coming and how you might prepare yourselves, right? So she is talking specifically about what we can do. There are questions forming in your mind, questions about what you've heard and about the instigation of what might be the shift of consciousness. So here she links it. Anything that happens, any sort of chaos we endure is leading us to the shift of consciousness, right? It's all part of it. Yeah. And then I wish to share with you that there are some points of concerning news. There are some things that are settling on the earth plane very soon that will be disruptive. And I want to assure yourselves that the form that these will take are about surrendering. So, and we have been hearing the concept of surrendering. It has been a consistent thread since these channelings started coming in 2020. So it has been constant, this kind of surrender, allow. Like any place we have in resistance creates friction in our world, friction in ourselves. But here she goes into it much more deeply about what she means about surrendering. She says, there is within all that occurs the undertow that will divide your consciousness into two planes of acceptance. One will fight in the battle against what occurs, and one will accept what occurs as a pathway toward their own spiritual enrichment. So what does this sound like to you? To me, when she's saying there will be an undertow that divides your consciousness, which is like the consciousness of humanity, not just us, humanity, right? Divide us into two planes of acceptance. So this sounds a lot like, right, the two earths, right? The two concepts of like those that want to stay in the 3D reality and those want to move to the higher state of consciousness. So that is what she's talking about here. So I love that it's getting like very practical and very specific, right? There's an undertow that will divide us. So how we respond to the events that are coming will matter in terms of which way we end up, and when we choose to move into and shift into the higher state of consciousness. Remember, it's not only one moment that we get to choose. It's when we want to choose. We've got lots of opportunities to choose when we're going to go into that higher state. So it's not all or nothing, right? So one, we'll fight. So if we fight against the changes, or if we roll with it, right, accept it occurs as a pathway towards spiritual enrichment. That is the movement that's going to bring us into the higher state of being. These two choices are available to yourself. She says each one is a valid perception. One leads towards a pathway of constriction, and the other leads towards a pathway of freedom. So I love that as the contrast. And it's all about resistance. And it really brings me back to the idea that the only thing that's ever in our way is ourselves. So if we are in resistance to what's occurring, resistance closes down our connection, closes down our ability to create. It creates constriction, right? So if we're in resistance, we're constricting, we're trying to grip that steering wheel, trying to control, right? Squeezing down, and we're not preventing the flow of energy to flow through us. Whereas if we open and allow and accept, we all of a sudden become this river to create the new reality in freedom. And I know it's counterintuitive. We've been conditioned to think that when we control things, we feel good. But it's a false good. It is not actually creating the reality the way we think it is. Like it's only when we're in this flow state that we're truly exercising our creative power. Next paragraph. The types of occurrences you can expect to experience relate, yes, to things economic and to concerns of global empires. Of how this world is currently construed and the way it means to deliver and exchange goods around the circuitous world. So there's a couple things happening here, and so I think it helps to kind of pick this apart a little bit. So it's going to be an economic shift, and it relates to the strength of global empires, right? So she says it's going to be things related to economic and concerns of global empires. So how this world currently is construed and the way it means to deliver and exchange goods. So we've been talking about supply chain since 2020, and it was certainly in the channelings of 2020, talking about the importance of supply chain. But then she says, and so it makes me think, of course, about the tariffs and about trade and all those things that are going on right now. And there shall be a shortening of timings that undermine everything. So I Googled that, and I actually went into ChatGPT, and I was like, what would shortening of timings mean related to the economy? And ChatGPT came up with several suggestions. And again, these are suggestions. And whenever I read onto this stuff, it frequently leads me down the wrong path, but I cannot help myself. I mean, like, what does it mean? I want to know. What does it mean? So shortening of timings. So in related to supply chain, ChatGPT did say shortening of timings in an economic understanding can relate to supply chain. And it can mean that when the economy is under stress, the supply chain gets shortened, where people can't count on deliveries, it messes up manufacturing, that it creates kind of havoc in trade. So that was one possibility, but there were several other things that were listed as possible things about shortenings of timings that undermine everything. So these are the moments where I really pay attention, and where, like I said, it's hard for me to look back. In retrospect, like after all this happens, we will look back at this paragraph and be like, of course, she said it right there. But standing where we are today, it's hard for us to connect the dots. So the only other thing I will mention is that after I channeled this message, I felt guided to go back into channel and to channel a little bit more. And it's another message, which I'm actually gonna share this message into my Soul Society after later on. So if you're in that group, if you're in Soul Society, which is part of this, which is in I will be in there, and I will share this as well with you guys. But I just want to share this one little tidbit of it with you guys here, which is if I can find it, because I haven't even gone through this, because the reason I'm not going to share it on YouTube is because I didn't have the video on. I just have the audio file. But she says something about, if you guys will hold with me for just a minute, I'll try to find it, where she talks about derivatives. Yeah, specific. This is what I mean. So specific, you guys. She says there is no such thing as a derivative, as two derivatives that did not like each other, and these two shall meet. all at once, and the consequence shall be one of catastrophic proportions. Derivatives shall meld and pull apart and already tipsy topsy service a system which will break apart, and that cannot be anything reliable. So it's something related, and then she talks about nations in here too, about countries. And so it has to do, and so I don't know it. I don't understand derivatives. I know it's an economic term. So if you are an economist, I should talk to my son. He's an economist. But it's got something to do as we stitch this together. And then, like I said, the fair warning, when we stitch stuff together like this, we never have, like from today, trying to do it, we will get it wrong. I just will say that up front. We will get it wrong because somehow our brains just do not bend in a way that we make the correct sense of it. But there is enough clues here that I invite you to have your own theory that so we understand, right? It is economic. It relates to global empire. So this is nations and trade, right? And it is about delivering and exchanging goods. So, and then it's going to be the shortening of timings that undermine everything. But then there's a second concept of derivatives. So derivatives, because I also did ChatGPT. What is derivatives? Like, what does that mean? And ChatGPT says that a derivative is where you, where somebody, it'd be like where you take a bet on something. Like it's almost like so somebody has a mortgage, and then somebody else makes a bet on whether or not you're going to pay your mortgage. So it's like one step removed. So, and it can be somebody, and they said they do this, they do use derivatives to hedge their bet. So say they offer you a mortgage, and then they say, well, what if she doesn't pay her mortgage? So we have the mortgage, but then I'm also going to make a bet that she doesn't pay the mortgage. So if she doesn't, then I still get some of my money back. So it's like that. They will make a bet for something, and then they bet against the thing at the same time. And that, I think, is called, and it's like one step removed, so it's a derivative. But then here's where it gets crazy, is then somebody else can also bet against your bet, who then bets against the bet, against the bet, again. You become like multiple chains, like a domino effect. And people can do these derivative things on commodities and things that you do in trade. So maybe it's that. I don't know. But there's something in here where it's like things get a little bonkers. Like maybe it has to do with derivatives and the shortening of timings that undermine everything. So somewhere in there's some big global exchangey, tradey thing that's happening with derivatives and I don't know what. And it leads to a major stress in the economy, which then also, she says in the next paragraph, and she says, and there shall be then she said, keep going down. She says, shortening of timings that undermine everything. Then she says, and there shall be an enrichment of some that falters very easily. And as those fortunes cascade, there is a great undertow that pulls many things with it. So the way I would read that would be that there have been it's this idea that more and more wealth is being concentrated in the hands of the few, right? There's the enrichment of some. So like, in other words, not everybody's been enriched, only some have been enriched, and those fortunes falter. So those break apart. So it's like the people who have who thought they were untouchable, and most likely those people lose their footing. Those big corporations or whatever it is that have been sort of pulling out the wealth out of the system, that breaks apart, and those fortunes cascade, and there's a great undertow that pulls many things with it. So it's this system of interdependent things, right, that break apart. So that is how I would read that. Again, my interpretation. So next paragraph, the banking system may falter, and you may find yourselves wishing upon the older days. So they've been talking, the angels start talking about the banking system collapse back in 2020, and they described very specifically the beginnings of the banking system crash with Silicon Valley Bank. They described that in detail. They said that it would be the largest depositors. It would not be the small depositors. It would be the largest depositors that lost, but then that lost their money, and then they would get it back again, and which is exactly what happened. Silicon Valley Bank, that bank default was the largest. I think it was the largest one in history, Like, and it just got brushed under the rug. It was just like whoosh, whoosh, just nobody pay attention to this. It was a massive, and then there was multiple banks after that that defaulted. But we just, like, nobody talk about this little weakness in the system. So, and what happened in that, if you weren't aware of the details, what happened is that Silicon Valley Bank was the bank that funded all of the big startups in Silicon Valley. And those big startups are kind of in a weird place financially where they're small, they're like too small to have like big banking, and they're too big to have little banking. In order to make their payroll, they would keep vast sums of money in the bank, and that was the only way they could kind of keep the ship alive. They would keep like $1 million in their checking account, and that was how they would pay their payroll. And so those are the depositors. They are not like, you go above 250,000 in the United States, it's not FDIC insured. Those are the people that lost all their money. And that's exactly what the angels said back in 2020. They said that the biggest depositors would lose their money. So it was things that were not FDIC insured. And then they said, but they will get them back, which they did, right? So that occurred. But I don't believe we're done with this. That was the beginning, showing the weakness in the system, right? And then there was another bank, and then another bank, and then another bank, and it's been happening. So here they're saying, here the Mother Creation is saying, is the banking system will falter. So the reason I mention this, and how do we take this in as listening to this and saying, okay, we're not going to worry. We're going to know that it's all going to lead us towards freedom. But what if you need to buy a loaf of bread or some gas in the middle of this when if the banking system shuts down for a period? It would be, I think personally, a good idea to get some low value, low denomination bills to have on hand, like 5, 10s, 1s, so that if you need to buy some gas, and if you need to buy whatever, bag of ice or whatever, that you have it on hand. And I'm not like, having 50s is not going to be super helpful, because what if you want to go buy gas and all you have is a 50 and they won't make change? So just go get yourself like low bills. And if this happens, banking system stuff happens, you're not going to be expected. Like if that happens, my personal opinion, you're not going to be expected to pay rent or to pay your mortgage or to pay your bills, because the system is shut down. So it's not a thing to worry about. But you do want to make sure that you have a way to have your basic needs met. And this goes into the idea I'm always saying, have a bag of rice and a bag of beans. Have non-perishable supplies that you can stick somewhere, set it aside, and not think about it again. The reason for it is that if stuff like this happens, the world can get a little jumpy. And you don't want to feel like you're pressured to go out into it. And that is what she says in here. Don't listen. If people are freaking out, don't listen. Don't be the one that this happens and all of a sudden you're like running down to Costco trying to buy everything with 5 million other people. You want to be home, chilling out, having a cup of tea. So do this now, and then don't think about it. And then you're good, right? That's how I approach it. Personal opinion, again. Although the angels and the Mother of Creation have suggested these are things you would like to do, things that would be beneficial to do. So, okay, so enough about that. The banking system may falter, and you may find yourselves wishing, because the real message here is about our internal state, not about the external stuff. But I mention it because it makes me feel better to think that you guys are taking these precautions. Okay, wishing upon the older days, wondering how things could be simplified once again. This is an opportunity for yourselves, such as I'm speaking of. Which paths shall you choose? Shall you be in resistance to what is, or shall you find within a pathway toward freedom? All that unfolds will be regulated by your internal commission, by what you are feeling about yourself in these times that are arriving. Be aware that all will right itself soon. All will return to some passageway which emerges, because things cannot stay as they are. Things cannot remain torn asunder. They shall find a pathway again. So I see this as good news. That what she's saying here is that be aware that, yeah, we're going to have this period of chaos. Like there's going to be political upheaval, there's going to be economic upheaval, stuff like that. But it's not going to last. And she says it's not because it can't. That I think of, like, when I think about this, I think about like an anthill. And if you've ever seen like something bad, like somebody stomp on an anthill, or an anthill somehow, something happens to it, there's like a billion jillion ants in there, and they immediately start scurrying around, and it takes very little time for them to kind of refigure themselves out. And then pretty soon the anthill is humming again. Like, it might not look the same way. They've maybe moved it, or they've dug it out differently, or, they've done something. but ants are ants, and there's a lot of them. So you can squish a bunch of ants, and then there's still a ton left, and they just keep on trucking. And humans are like that there's a lot of us, and you can take down the banking system, and you can crash this and crash that, and at the end of the day, we still are going to live our lives, and we're still going to be out in the world doing our thing, and hopefully doing it from a place of freedom. And we're going to create new systems, and we're going to build new systems. And so it won't be long, is what I'm saying. That this is a period that we need to weather, but it's not forever. And so it's really like, how are you going to weather it? How are you going to move through it? And that's what we're talking about. How are we going to move through it? And it is from the perspective of seeing the freedom and holding the vibration of freedom. Then she says, but where will you flow? And I highlighted this whole paragraph. Where will you flow in that process? How will you find yourselves? Can you regulate your internal disposition during a process of upheaval? Can you find within it that anything lost was not needed? That you are cared for and will find yourselves brought to what is needed? That there cannot be a situation which does not lead to your betterment. So to me, it's like this is the trifecta of positive thoughts that we need to hold as we are moving through this, right? That it is how do we regulate ourselves? How do we, if we start to feel fear coming up, then she says, focus on the idea that anything you lost was not needed. Anything that you lost, or anything that, and some of us will lose a little bit, some of us will lose, like you just don't know what's going to happen. Like she said, the world is a big place. Don't worry about it. That if something falls away from your life, realize that it wasn't something that you needed. And then she says, number 2, she says, realize that you are cared for and you will find yourselves brought to what is needed. So even if you're in a space where your job goes away for some reason, realize the job was probably limiting your freedom. And then you say, okay, well, it's gone. That means that was not something I needed, and trust that you will be brought to what you need. So if you are, whatever it is that you need, trust that it's going to show up for you. And then the next thing she says, that there cannot be a situation which does not lead to your betterment. So trust everything that is happening is for your highest and best good, and to try as best as we can to be out of resistance with that process, to try to be in flow and to trust you. And the way I look at this, look at where you are today. Like, you have always been okay because here you are. Right? You are still alive. You still have food and shelter and everything, that clearly you have internet as you're here right now. Like, life may have been bumpy. You may have gone through some stuff in your life, and guess what? You were okay. You came through it, right? You were all right at the end of the day. I think of some dumb decisions I made in my life. Like one time when I was 16, I tried to pass someone on Fuerte, which is like insanity. Like only someone who did not have all their brains about them would do that. And I did that. And another car started coming, and somehow magically I made it over. And I know the angels had me in that moment, and I got to the other side, and I had this 16-year-old like deer in the headlights, like, what did I just do? And yeah, we make some dumb choices in our lives. But you know what? I'm still here, which means, guess what? I'm protected, and so are you. We are all protected, you guys. All we got to do is get out of our own way, right? Be in the flow. So, okay. So, and then she says, hold this as your faith in any concern, anything that comes up. Speak to yourselves aloud if need be. And I love this as guidance, right? If you freak out, just say aloud to yourself. She says, reassure yourselves. And here's what she wants us to say. All pathways lead to your freedom. All pathways lead to your freedom. So you can just say it over and over. All pathways lead to my freedom, right? And just recognize whatever's happening, this is taking you to freedom. Focus on it. Then the primary concern is in the noticing and the observation of how that freedom is materializing. So we have to shift our perspective and start looking for it. It may not be as you expected, yet it is available to be perceived. So it's there. We just got to look for it. She says, your enrichment in these times is of a spiritual nature. So this is huge, you guys. That think about the United States, where I live, and this is true for many countries, but I think it's particularly true for the United States. We have been a very capitalistic, materialistic society. That we have been, the materialism here is like undisputable. That we have managed to turn every sacred thing into a reason to buy things. This is a very, very materialistic country, and we shop for amusement, right? It's yeah, and our goal, our sort of all of our motives in this country are about the accumulation of material things, material wealth. It's like everything is geared towards this. This is the focus of the country. And we are about to have a really significant shift where it won't be that anymore. That is my belief based on the channeling, is that the United States has an opportunity. And I think this is us not alone. I think maybe many other countries as well. But I know this is a big thing here. This lines up with our astrology. We're having our Pluto return, which happens like every 150 years. The Pluto return shakes a country. It's the United States Pluto return, shakes a country to its foundations, right? And our foundation is supposed to be like liberty, justice for all, right? We're not meant to be like, Black Friday sales for everyone. That is not meant to be the foundations of our country. It's meant to be like we are meant to be a spiritual country. And spiritual in terms of understanding ourselves as creator and our connection, and like that's for everyone, but us too, United States too. And so I believe this shift is going to push us in that direction. And so she says here, your enrichment in these times is of a spiritual nature. So we're moving from materialism to spiritualism. It is in your dialogue with yourselves, with the towering nature of your individuation, of how you will come to terms with a world that is extending itself beyond its own capacity and returning to itself in a way that deregulates comets and political systems. So this is that extending itself beyond its own capacity. So the debt, like the United States, the debt system, like our national debt is insane. We've extended ourselves way beyond our capacity. And that is national debt, that is consumer debt, that is corporate debt, that is debt on every level is like teetering on the edge of its, like at this point, the United States national debt, it is unpayable. It has reached the point where it is now like larger than our entire, like everything the United States produces in a year. Our debt is more than that. Like there is no physical way we can pay it back. So, and we are like that on so many different levels. So they're saying it has extended itself beyond a world. So it's not just the United States. I'm sure it's lots of places that is extending itself beyond its own capacity and returns to itself in a way that deregulates commerce and political systems. Then she says, this is all right. She says, have no fear. In the same way that like think about that we go back always to the idea of the inhale and the exhale. That when we inhale and we try to hold the air and hold the air and hold the air, I think of this as our economy, that it's like we got to the end of our inhale, of our expansion of our economy. And then, our leaders nobody wanted to be holding the bag when there was the natural recession that's supposed to happen. The economy is supposed to kind of go, in waves like this, like, increase bull, bull, bear, it's supposed to. But no political leader wants to be in office when there's the downturn. So they just pump the economy. So it's like taking a breath and then inhaling and then inhale a little more and then a little more, right? And then you get to a point where you're like, you just can't hold it anymore. And that's where we are, right? We're in that place right now where it's like, it's got to all come crashing down and return. It's got to return to itself. But she says, have no fear. It's all right. But don't fear. In the same way we don't have to fear letting our breath out. Your internal choice is what matters. How shall you find yourselves in this new freedom? How can that freedom be buoying your internal emotional regulation? So looking for the freedom, finding the freedom is going to give you calm, is going to give you peace, is going to give you the sense that you're moving towards something rather than just letting everything fall apart. You're going to feel like you're moving toward the new earth, new reality, right? That you are on the bus going to the goodness, which is where we want to go. So she says, can you find within it a capacity to notice freedom? And then she gives this example. For example, if there is not the same support for your daily routine. So for example, if you lose your job for some reason, if there's not the same support for your daily routine, you could find concern or freedom. Freedom to enrich your day in some new way. Freedom to go somewhere you've been meaning to explore. Or you could sit and worry about when things will start again, when you might return to work. So which way sounds better? Like if you sit there and stew, and here's the thing, is the end result is going to be the same. Like you're going to end up like finding the next thing and you're going to be fine. But the time gap in between, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to sit and worry? Or are you going to use that space to explore your freedom? And that's what she's saying here, is that every moment we need to be leaning in towards the freedom. And she says, choosing the path of freedom enriches every experience. Then she says, I suggest this to you because the degree to which these changes unfold will vary for everyone. The world is a very large place, and in some locales and in some situations, they will be felt very heartily. In others, hardly at all. And in all cases, your passageway through them offers you this choice point. How shall you experience this passage of time where things are coming to a close and new doorways open? Shall you reach for what was, or shall you settle yourselves within to expand into your own experiencing of what new freedoms you are being given? And I find this to be such an incredibly uplifting and positive perspective that's available to every one of us. And then I highlighted this next paragraph, and I think this is super important. That I think this will help us with our perspective shift. She says, sometimes freedom does not look like freedom in the beginning. It may sometimes take on the disguise of hardship. But recognize this is only because our expectations are not in alignment with reality, and we have not yet opened ourselves to the opportunity that is before us. So this is why she keeps saying we need to be of the perspective of the mind to notice and be looking for the freedom. And so this is this idea that it will look like hardship because we'll be focusing on the thing that we lost. That's hardship. And we can certainly put our attention there, but if we do that, we're not leaning in, and we're not even noticing the freedom that's like knocking at the door. Maybe we're not accepting it, not letting it in. And so she's saying it's our expectations are the things that undo us. So we really need to try our best in this process to try to open our minds and our hearts up as much as we possibly can. Even if something comes forward and you're like, well, that's not going to work, maybe take a minute. Don't immediately dismiss it. Like say, well, maybe that will work. Let's give it a try. Let's try it for a day and see what happens. Let's take a step in that direction just in case, right? What if somebody shows up at your door looking for help and you're like, I can't help you. My world just fell apart. Take a breath and say, maybe this is my freedom knocking at the door. There's this person knocking at my door looking for help, maybe taking me somewhere where there's something wonderful for me. Take a breath and give it a shot. Give it a chance. Say yes, see where it takes you. Next paragraph, take heart in all occurrences. Trust that you are guided toward your highest expression and find in any pockets of resistance an opportunity to make a choice for freedom. Yours, meaning your freedom, is palpable, it is tangible, and it will provide for you in every circumstance an avenue by which you may expand your spiritual awareness. That's what this is all about. You can be brought to peace and tranquility even in circumstances that do not seem to offer it. If you merely guide yourself toward what freedom is presenting itself, lean into the possibility you did not expect. So this is really, not only is leaning into the freedom helping us to embrace the new reality, but it's helping us to regulate our emotions, helping us to get calm and to get into a higher state of mind, even in the middle of craziness, to focus on this concept of that you are, like she said back here, the mantra that she's asking us to repeat for ourselves, right? Which is, I think I lined it, that all pathways lead to your freedom. All pathways lead to my freedom, right? All right, then she says, there will be circumstances at large that cause for the upending of things, and these may cause great concern for many. But I would encourage yourselves not to listen, to have in your heart the comprehension that your light is guided, your perspective can open, and the broadening of your circumstances leads you toward what can only be described as an unfolding of a new paradigm of reality. Beautiful. And I love this last paragraph. I highlighted the whole thing. It says, take into yourselves this hopeful voice to receive your freedom as it is given, to step upon the threshold of what is new, and to reach for the unexpected. For there will be opportunities made and opportunities met that you cannot fathom and cannot prepare for. And these are of a nature to guide you toward your spiritual expression. I say thank you and goodbye. And what I love about this is that the way she's describing opportunities, it's not opportunities to go back to the way things were. It's opportunities that's leading us into our higher expression, leading us into the new reality. That's what's coming. So that's the kind of opportunities we're meant to look for spiritual expansion. And that will then create a better, beautiful world that we are living in. But it's not going to look the same, right? It's not going to be the way it was. We're not returning to materialism. So we will discover that the things that we maybe thought we needed or thought were important become a lot less important. And I will tell you, as I've been on my spiritual path, my concepts of what I need to be happy have changed dramatically. I've downsized my house dramatically. I live in I have a little cottage and I love it. And it's the right size house for me. And I have a big, beautiful garden, which I love. And it's a very different life than I used to have. I used to have a great big house, a water view, and it was very nice. But I don't need it anymore. I think about that and it just sounds like a lot to clean. It just sounds like a lot of work. And this is simple and it's easy and I like it. And I find that that's true about like most of my stuff. Like I still like nice things, I still, when I buy things, I like to buy things that are well made. I appreciate quality. I appreciate craftsmanship. I appreciate the love that's put into things. And so that matters to me, but I buy less stuff for sure. I buy fewer things and I give away. If I don't use it, I give it to someone else. I try to put it into the world. I try to return that energy into circulation, part of the 40 days of blessings that we've been doing every day on YouTube is part of it is like clearing out energy. And I've been clearing out, and I got my garage is almost clean, you guys. Talk about freeing up energy. It feels amazing. And I have moved on like lots of things I discovered in there that I didn't even know were in there that I have since passed on to others. Share it. If you're not using it, give it to someone who can. And so anyways, I find it to be this idea that that we just need so much less than we thought we did. And then I think that we will end up finding what we need in each other, that we will be able to help each other, that more and more as we find what we need for real, what's really pressing, what's really needed, then we will find opportunities to be of service to one another. And that I think is going to be very soul enriching and soul fulfillment. I think in this next path of growth that we are on, and I think I shared with you guys just recently that I've had some amazing dreams, that my journey has shifted, that I have moved through sort of my first batch of karma. Yay! Like the karma that I was born with, I'm through it, which is my sort of my original like mother wound, father wound. So I've signed up for a new, like my higher self did. I just dreamt about it. I hope I was at that meeting. It was like deciding it for me. But I've signed up for a new batch of karma, good karma, happy karma, not the same kind of karma that we go through the first time around. The kind of karma where I say I still want to be on earth, and I still want to participate, and I still want to be of service to this earth, and I still want to grow as a soul. So my karma is I want to try to become enlightened while in my physical body. And I don't know how long. It could take me 30 years. I have no idea. But that's my path that I'm on now. But I had the dream. It was really amazing. And now I understand like what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. But I didn't know how. Like I really deeply understand now how to resolve karma to resolve karma. But this is not about resolving karma. This is not about healing. This second stage I'm on, it's not the same it's not the same toolkit. So I was like, how? So I asked for a dream, and I had one just the other day. And I told you guys I'd share it with you. So this is and I don't know if this is true for everybody who is on this path, who's like trying to move towards enlightenment, but maybe it is. So I thought, okay, I'll share it with you. I had a dream that in the dream, I'm staying in an RV, which is a great sign in a dream, because what is an RV? Is a home, but it's mobile, that you can take it with you everywhere. And inside an RV, you have everything you need, right? It's got a little kitchen. It's got, like, you can sleep in it, you can cook in it, you can live in it. It has everything you need. So an RV, for me, is a symbol that means you got what you need. You have what you need already. So I'm asking the question of my guides, what do I need to do to reach enlightenment? And I'm like, okay, what's the pathway? What do I have to, what's my work? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Of course, here's me. I'm supposed to be being, not doing, but I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? Because I'm human. And they give me this great dream saying you have everything you need. And so then they show me I'm in a little cart, and like a drive around little utility vehicle, but it has no walls and no top, which is great in a dream. And it is like the color is tangerine color, a mix of orange and yellow. And you guys know the dream symbols. When I look for my dream symbols, I use the Aisling Dream Dictionary, which is online, which is like, that's my favorite number one recommended dream dictionary. It's AISLING, Aisling. And so in that dream dictionary, you will see orange means career, yellow means, the shade of yellow can mean enlightenment. So two together. So so it's like, how do you reach enlightenment? It's through work for me, is what it means. And then I see a public shower, and I see all these people moving through like one after another, after another, after another, after another. And this is right in the middle of doing the 40 days of blessings on YouTube. So they're saying you've got everything you need. Basically, they're saying, hey, you're doing it. Stop stressing out. You're doing it. You're doing the thing you need to do, which is to try to be in the world, share your gifts. Be in the world and share your gifts. I think that is what it is. So maybe I'll get more dreams about it, but it did put my mind at ease, and I've stopped like rummaging around in my subconscious trying to figure out like what is it that I'm supposed to be doing. But and that may be a me thing, but I bet not. I bet it's an us thing. I bet it's all of us. So yeah. And for those of you who share my wound of not wanting to be seen, I am sorry that is what it is, because I know you're like, I don't want to share my gifts. I know that so well, but yeah. So that's what I got. And I don't even know how I got into that subject, but I did promise I would share what I learned, and that's what I got so far. So, but I know it's not going to be a one and done. There's a lot more to learn. Oh my gosh, you guys, what a gorgeous, gorgeous conversation. Thank you so much and thanks again for, I'm sorry I was late to the conversation, but I really appreciate you guys coming in and joining us and being part of it. So, yeah, amazing thoughts, and really exciting and uplifting to think about the potential of where we are heading. And it just feels closer than ever. We are all going to be part of this, you guys. We all get to be not only part of it, we get to create it. We get to create the new reality. So it's such an important thing that you are doing, being on your path, following your intuition, being guided yourselves, right? Just amazing, because it's leading us all towards a better and brighter life. All right, you guys, have a beautiful rest of your week. Sending you guys tons of love, and I will see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.